So what I want to start doing every week is a places of opposites spread. And why a places of opposites? Well, because we live on a planet that is very keyed into opposites. Light, dark, day, night, happy, sad, good, bad. All these opposites is how we define our lives. And one of the blessings in that is that we can differentiate ourselves from other people. We can differentiate what we like from what we don't. Sometimes that comes with judgments. And the way to get around those judgments is to realize often that, anything we categorize is really the same, depending on perspective. That anything that is good has some bad parts. Anything that's bad has some good parts, depending on how you. So basically, the point of the spread, places of opposites, is so that you can recognize energies that may feel like they're working in opposition, but are actually the same energy, just being perceived by you in two different ways. So it has 5 cards. There's a top and a bottom, a left and a right, and a center card. So I also sometimes do more than one deck for the same 5 positions, just for clarity. Sometimes I might leave it at one deck. So I'm going to start this week for simplicity, just with a basic tarot deck. Nothing different or fancy about this that you may not have seen before. So I'll start shuffling and setting our tent. Dear Heavenly Father and Mother, please show me cards in play this week that will help me and my viewers understand and get some hellos on energy that's in their space and what they're working on to create this week. So, all right. And I'm just kind of energetically feeling for some cards. And I use my hand chakras a lot to find the energies. So right now I'm looking for top card. And then go with the bottom card. I'm just going to set these over here for a bit. And then left, right. Looks like there's 2. I'm going to put them there together. That's all right. And for the middle, okay, so we have our first 5 cards. So the top card, this is kind of what you're most aware of. It's in front of your vision. It's on the top. It's the most obvious energy. And I have drawn the Queen of Swords. And the Queen of Swords represents either a person that you know or yourself. I see in this case it's mostly yourself. It is representing the energies of our minds, what we're able to focus on, how we're able to cut away thoughts and distractions and focus. And you can see very clearly here, there's a point of focus on the sword. The Queen of Swords often represents being aware of your emotions, being able to handle your emotions, but from a detached perspective, and often not a very personal perspective, meaning you're more concerned about people as a whole, humanity as a whole, or your family, or a group of friends, or like I think versus just yourself in this situation. But it's about cutting away distractions and about being able to use your discernment and your focus to view things from a non-emotional state while being aware of your emotions. And in the opposite place of that, at the bottom card tends to be kind of your gut response. So while the top card is what you're aware of, the bottom card can be the gut response of what's kind of driving things from almost not quite subconscious, but just that instinctive level. And it's also a sword. We draw the Two of Swords. The Two of Swords. And as you can see, the Two of Swords shows a person blindfolded, holding two swords. And the interesting thing about this card is often twos represent balance. They also represent first actions that you're willing to take. They're kind of focusing an energy in a direction. And the Two of Swords is blindfolded. So what does that tell you? Tells you that you are taking steps without really looking at them. And sometimes that's because if you start looking and analyzing too much, you will box yourself in and not take any steps. So while the Queen of Swords is looking at things with discernment and focus, the Two of Swords is kind of like, I'm just going to go. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go, and I've got my protection, and I can also use them to, interact, but I've got my protection, and I'm just going to go without overthinking. And so interesting there that we have two swords and they're in opposition, and one is about focus and one is about just taking action without looking too closely. So the left and the right, sometimes, and a lot of times, are kind of a timeline thing from things that you've recently experienced to kind of where you're headed to. But they can also just be energies that represent more desires versus practicalities, things like that. So look first at the left. So if you're viewing this from a past perspective, this is where you're coming from. If you're viewing this from a desire standpoint, so we have over here, we have the King of Pentacles. Again, a personality card. I find that pretty interesting. And I see this one as equally being you and someone that's an influence in your life. I see this being the things that you create for yourself to manage your life and your kingdom, make sure that everything's taken care of. I also see that this is a person you look up to very much. Somebody that has generally all their ducks in a row, is able to take care of things, able to always have enough money for stuff, able to always enjoy life. There's very little constraints on them, or so it appear. The constraints tend to come from their own self-discipline, their ability to make choices. And it's also a place of prosperity. The King of Pentacles kind of represents having it all and being able to manage it, not only for yourself, but for others. So I find it an interesting dynamic that in both where you're coming from and what's forefront in your mind has to do with kind of a kingdom, or it has to do with others as much as yourself. And it's kind of going from a place of always having enough and being able to manage it and being the active manager to discernment and focus. I mean, as we go to the Queen of Swords, it looks like there's kind of a new way you want to do things, and you're just playing with it in your mind. But all right, looking at the cards to the right, this is kind of going into the future, or taking what you want and making it more practical, that kind of thing. And we drew two cards. The first card we got was an Ace of Rods. So rods are the action suit, the fiery suit. And the ace is really just like all the fundamental energy that you could need towards something. It's very undefined, but very powerful. It's everything you need, and it's pushing you in a direction. In this case, Ace of Rods, pushing you towards action. It's pushing you towards passion and enthusiasm. And so I find it interesting that the top and the bottom cards, your awareness and your gut are all still in the mental realm of things that you're thinking about, what you want to do. where we're going is more to taking action, or what you want to be practical is to just take action and create something and let something grow. The other card we got that goes along with that is a Knight, and it's the Knight of Rods. So very much so that directing action. Knights are action cards, and they're actions that you're supposed to take. And the Knight of Rods is kind of like the action of actions. It's the charge. And it, kind of mirrors this, just go for it, but actually not just in your mind, but like just go for it. Take all this potential energy and go and do and conquer. And so I find that pretty fascinating that we're going from a place of managing things to a place of discernment and focus. We're cutting away some stuff, but not thinking too hard about it because we don't want to get caught up in rules and shoulds and limits, and just taking this raw action and going for it. So it's like a real big transition from a state of stability to something new you want to do, and you're really kind of thinking about how you want to make that happen. So I love how all this comes together. And the center card is kind of the driving force. It's kind of how all these come together in balance. And here we have the Three of Cups. And cups are the source of emotion. And the three represents celebration and friendship and family. So everything that's driving this transition from again, the group dynamic is there. It's about doing things that benefit a group. And we're moving from managing things that were stable and abundant and having everything we always needed to choosing a new focus and really, making discernments. And it could be discernments about what friends you have, what friends you allow, what you give priority to in your life. But the three is also a lot about celebration. So, it might just really be making sure that you are taking time to appreciate all the people in your life and really focusing so that distractions and other things and politics and the crap that brings you down, you're just kind of cutting away. You're like, I choose not to be ignorant and not to be silly, but I choose to focus on the things that make me happy and the people in the group and to celebrate what I have in my life. And from that, I'm going to take that energy and that enthusiasm from things I love, and I'm just really going to create and go and do lots of action. So that's the Places of Opposite spread for this week, second week of February. This is Wednesday, so I probably will do them Wednesdays to Wednesdays. And I know that's kind of weird, isn't it? But to me, it kind of allows us to start from the center point. There's not really the distraction of weekend energy on either side. We're starting from this is the week, and this is where we're going forward to the next week. And I see that a lot of you have questions about, all right, well, this is the energy's in play. This is what you're going for. How long do these play out? We'll see. Places of opposites energies, I think, often can actually follow lunar cycles, which could be anywhere from, the changing of a new moon to a full moon, 2 weeks. It can be a full month. It can be a 6-month cycle. So this one feels to me like it's got some immediate impact, and it's also got a long-term. And so I think we're looking at 2 weeks to 6 months where this is kind of the focus. So thank you for joining me today, and any comments, questions, try to answer as many of them can, and I think this is going to be fun. Thanks.